All right, let's add another section here, a section which Dan can display his images. Now, dealing with images can be complicated because the images come in different width, different heights, and really depending on how the image is taken, whether it's portrait or landscape mode, we have to adjust how we display that image. Otherwise, it could look odd. Now, we want to create a system which is easily updatable and which allows Stan to display some of his recent images without having to adjust the design too much. For that, we can make use of a new feature, relatively new feature in Webflow called the grid system. We already made use of the grid system once when we designed our homepage, this landing page, and did the blog preview section. Now we can make use of that grid system here again. Let me show you how. The grid system is quite powerful, actually one of the most powerful features in Webflow. However, it's also one of the more difficult ones to understand. I hope this just playing around with the grid system gives you some more insight in how it works. Let's go about and adding it to the page. So first thing first, again, I'm going to drop in a section and need to make sure that this section is within the body. There we go. And into that section, I'm going to drop again a container element. And into that container element, I'm going to drop this grid element. Now, with the grid element, we can define how many rows and columns we want to have. And really, if you have more and more rows, it allows us to fine grain how we space out things on our page. So I'm going to set the columns to 12 and give it, let's say, 6 rows for the beginning. And then there is a gap between each row and each column of 16 pixels. Currently, this is too much. So I'm going to reduce this to 1 pixel. And we can always change that later on should we need to. Now, with the grid system, every item I add to it will be placed inside one of these grid items. So I can just drag and drop an image into here, and it's going to be automatically placed inside one of those grid items. So let's give this image a class, and we call this about image. Okay, now I've already uploaded a few images, so let's just select one of them. And then we can just take this image and drag and drop it and really say how much space it should take up in this grid system. Let's say we wanted to take up this area of the grid system, or we could even increase that to this area. And one thing we have to change, let's make sure that this image covers the whole area. And let's add a second image. Give it the same class. Choose an image, let's say it is live ring, and then manually adjust what space this is supposed to take up. There we go. And now we have to tell it to actually cover everything. And for that, all we have to do is select this align. And now it's going to be cut off a bit, but this looks pretty good in my opinion. And we can add another image here. Let's add one. And let's add one last image. And you can extend that grid system obviously more and more if you want to. which looks a bit stretched. Maybe we can reduce the height. Yeah, there we go. And then here in the grid system itself, we can remove one of the rows. All right, let's add some more spacing on the page, and then I'm gonna add some padding of 100, and let's preview this all. There we go. So this is how you add a grid system which you can easily adapt depending on what images you want to display. We can create some space here. If you wanted to, by increasing the gap from, we currently said there's a gap of 1 pixel between each tile. We can increase that to a bit more if you want to create some spacing between those images. We can say that the gap should increase to, let's say, 3 pixels, and that is going to create a bit of more gap if we wanted to. You can also give this the class we were earlier designed. This is going to make sure that the image is not stretched so much. And there we go. We added a dynamic grid system which we can easily update whenever we want to change the pictures or add more pictures to this page. Now let's give this a heading, and I think then we are more or less finished with our about page. All right, let me add one heading to this page. And style this accordingly. All right. There we go. And now we just created the about page with some images and the standard symbols. Now we have one more page left, and that is a blog preview page. Actually, we have 2 more pages left, and then obviously we have our get guide page, which we have been referring to quite often throughout this whole website. Let's go about and adding those 2 last pages, and then make our website mobile responsive.